Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining the GoTo webinar. Before we get started, I want to make sure everyone knows how to ask a question because this is intended to be an interactive forum. So Ben, would you tell the members how to ask a question?
Sure. Yeah, everybody logged in. You should have a panel on the right side of your screen, and there's a few line items on each that compose the panel. There's one that says questions, and it has a little white triangle pointing to the right. You click on that line, and a window will open, and there's a field to enter a question. So at any time, you can enter a question there. I'll be monitoring the questions, and then I'll moderate those to the board as they come up.
Okay, thanks, Ben. And we'll review those again later in the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we'll make sure everybody who's got a question can ask it. And by the way, just in case I forget to mention it at the end, if you have a question and you don't get it out today, you feel free to send us an email anytime. So this is the first in a series of monthly single-purpose special board meetings. The single purpose is to keep you informed about the facilities improvement project. These special board meetings are part of our overall communication plan that is being developed as we speak. We'll talk a little more about that a little later on. The board established, can you put this, you get the slides up, Ben?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The board established the Ad Hoc Committee at its October 23rd meeting. Let's start by reviewing the purpose of the Ad Hoc Committee. Next slide. The Ad Hoc Committee has four purposes: to oversee the projects, to provide member input to the projects, to communicate with members on the projects, and to conduct the member vote. So those are four very important projects, important responsibilities of the committee. So let's take a look at the committee that was established. Next slide. The Ad Hoc Facilities Improvement Committee has two subcommittees, one for the Golf Course Renovation Committee chaired by Tom Pinkerton, the other for the Club Facilities Improvement Plan chaired by Gail Fisher. The chairs have put together, I think, a strong team with the energy and enthusiasm to fulfill its important purposes. You'll notice that each of the members of the committee indicates what neighborhood they're from. But let me just make this point that they don't represent the neighborhoods. They represent all the members, and they're doing a fine job of that. Okay, next slide. Let's talk briefly about the improvement plan schedule. There's two key dates on the schedule. For those of you who haven't seen this chart before, there's two key dates. The first key date is February of 2023. That's when the current clubhouse renovation loan is paid off. We said at the beginning of this journey that we would not take a new loan out until the current loan is paid off. So that's the first milestone, paying off of the loan in February of 2023. The second major milestone is October through December of 2021, this year, and that is the milestone. That's the point we set for the vote, the member vote. So in between those two, and we have three phases. We have the master planning phase, which we're in right now. That's 12 months long. The detailed design and once the vote's been complete, we go into the detailed design, permitting, and bidding phase. That's 15 months long, and then we go into the construction phase starting in March, April of 2023, and completing all the work by November of 2023. So these are the dates, and we think these dates are sufficient to allow us to work the projects in a reasoned and deliberate manner. Now, it's important to point out where the teams are now. They're in the current, if you click the button, and current team focus is in the master planning phase, you can see on the chart. Between now and the October, November, December timeframe, when we'll have the member vote.
Oh, shit.
Next chart.
Just working through a technical issue on the slides. Just give us here, sorry.
I don't know. Email. Do you need a second for that?
You all set? You see the
Not
slide?
quite yet.
Okay.
I think he's okay.
It's okay, you can see it?
Master planning phase deliverables.
Right. Okay, so the team, as I mentioned, the team is focused on the master planning phase, and there's a couple of deliverables. First is to prepare the member vote package. They said we're going to vote this fall, October, November, December timeframe. So the first major deliverable of the subcommittees is to deliver a member vote package consisting of all those components. Secondly, is to communicate and have an engagement strategy with the members so that we make sure the members are up to date, have an input into all the things we're doing, and feel like they're being kept current with what's going on in the project. We want the committees, we have one task for them, deliver a single, well-supported vote package for both the golf and the club facilities. Okay, so that's a little bit of an overview now. Moving on to the golf course renovation. As I mentioned, Tom Pinkerton is the chair of our golf course renovation subcommittee, so I'm going to turn it over to Tom to talk about what the committee's been up to recently. Huh?
Sorry. I guess since this is our first official meeting here, we'll just kind of do a little bit of catch up as to where we started and where we are. You know, it was back in October of 2017 when the committee was first started to think about renovating the golf course. A year later, in October 2018, Kip Schulteis was hired to give us a proposal. He started by doing focus groups with our members in January of 2019. And by March of 2019, Kip came to the club and gave a town hall to us showing his plan. And that was a good day and a good summary of what he wanted to do. So all that took place until about 2019. And at that same time, a rendering of the golf holes went up onto our website so that members could take a look at them and give us, you know, their thoughts about what Kip had provided us. We have received some member feedback, and we have carefully tracked that, and we have it. And we are hoping to get a lot more in the near future. So this first page here just basically shows what is on the website. It's a little summary here. These 5 highlighted holes are holes that we can look at individually. Below that, there's a click here spot that you can go in and look at Kip's town hall that was done in March of 2019. And I would encourage all of us, board members and members, to take another look at that presentation that was done in March. And then finally, at the end of this slide, there's a view more, and that's where you take a look at the golf holes as shown in Kip's town hall. The committee minutes are up on the right side of this screen, so you can go in there and see when we have met and really what was covered in those meetings. The next slide, Ben, if you can go to the next slide, it shows that's what you see when you click on the view more on the prior slide, and you can go through the golf holes. There is a narrative of all the changes on those holes, and so that is available to the membership and has been for quite some time to take a look at it. And so that's on the view more. Just to go back a little bit, when the Cornerstone survey was done, it really gave us hope and confirmation that the members want to renovate the golf course, and they want to do it in a fashion similar to what Kip has given us on his March 2019 presentation. So with that information from the membership, we decided to go ahead and gather more information from the members beyond the focus groups to try to help us determine what changes Kip needs to make in the next step of the planned proposal. So Ben, if you could go to the next slide. This is a document that hopefully many of you've seen already, many have seen. It went out this Tuesday, and it is a request for our members to take a look at the golf course proposal hole by hole and give us additional input, what they like, what they don't like. Ben, if you could go to the next one to show the document. So here it is. We show a picture of the hole as it exists now next to the renovation suggested. There is narrative at the top explaining what those changes will be. And then at the bottom, there is a box for comments that we ask everybody to fill those in and give us their ideas. We will take that information and couple it with the information we have already received from members, and then gather that together and meet with Kip and see what changes we can make to accommodate people's thoughts about the golf course. This went out on Tuesday, and so far we already have over 50 responses to that document. So that's a good thing, and that will help us identify what changes we need to make. Literally, the information is going to be accumulated on a hole-by-hole basis on an Excel spreadsheet. So we will have all the responses about hole number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, etc. We will then be able to go through those, find the common themes, find the things that our members want or don't want, and then we'll be able to work with the architect on that. We've asked people to respond by mid-February. We hope that they're able to do that. And at that time, we'll gather that information, arrange a meeting with Kip, and start the next step of the plan to renovate the golf course. And so that's kind of where we are right now, Larry.
Tom, do you think that once we're done going back over the comments, going over the comments with Kip, and he gives us another cleanup of the design, will members get another look at that?
Certainly. We will absolutely make sure that probably a very similar, format as we're looking at right here, Larry, with probably whatever the new changes are, so to speak, that the members have requested. This rendering is based off the focus groups. So the members told us initially what they wanted. Now we're going to give them another opportunity to take a look at that, see what they want. We will come back with changes a third time to show them how that changed this presentation. So yes, this is going to be an ongoing process for a little while, I think.
So if members have comments of a general nature, how do they provide those to you? Because I think these are all sort of hole by hole questions.
These are hole specific. They could certainly simply do an email to myself or to Katie Forden, and that would certainly get to me, and we would gather that information, which is what we've done so far, and hold that and couple it with whatever the specific designs are.
Yeah, you had talked to Eric, to Eric and Mark about maybe even walking the golf course, some of the holes with members who are interested to stake out a layout of significant changes. Yeah. Is that still in the thought?
It's difficult to see on here exactly how it translates out on the golf course itself. So, walking out there makes some sense, and we may be able to, if we find based on this input that we have a couple of places specifically that we need to look at or work on, we can certainly do that with members.
Yeah, the problem is it'll have to be at midnight so it doesn't affect any tee time.
I know. There will be somebody hitting a golf ball near us, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Do any other board members have any questions on where we are or how we got there?
I have a question or comment, if I can.
Sure, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. I feel like there's been this has just been irking me for quite some time, a gross mischaracterization of Kip's presentation in March of 2019.
Charlie.
That was presented as a wish list, not, as you say, what Kip wanted to do. Never. That was a wish list, period. It was, we were told it was like between $4 and $5 million to do everything. And we keep talking about this as if this was the proposal. It never was. Never. You go back and I encourage everybody to listen to that presentation too, because you'll see that it was presented as a wish list. If we could do everything in the world that we wanted, this is what members would want.
And that's exactly right. He took the focus group, which was when we told him what we wanted to do, and this is how he came back to us. Exactly.
He just gave us a list of what we said. This was not his proposal, not his idea. It was just a wish list from members. So I really would appreciate not characterizing it as something that it wasn't.
And
You know, what happened is some people, either on the board or on the committee, took this as a go-ahead to just take it and pervert it and turn it into something different.
yeah, I'm not sure where you're going with this, Charlie. I mean, that
You're not sure what?
proposal that Kip
I'm
gave
sorry,
us,
I didn't hear what you said. You're not sure what?
yeah, that proposal that Kip gave us was
Was
his
not a proposal.
response.
It was not a proposal,
Okay,
Tom.
what word should we be using, Charlie?
Excuse me?
What word would you prefer?
It was a wish list.
Okay, this
Nothing
wish
more.
list,
A wish
That-
list from members, a wish list from members, not from Kip, not a proposal from Kip.
right? That's true. Kip did not come here on his own, walk the golf course and said, if I own this property, this is what I do. He did not do that.
And then I'd appreciate not positioning it as such.
Well, but
Okay.
Charlie, I think you have to admit that it gives us a starting point, and that's why we're collecting comments on this now to see what these are. What Tom is saying is what this design represents is what the members told Kip. So now we're asking what do you, now that you see how he's translated those comments into a design, what do you think? It's not a firm proposal. We don't have a firm proposal yet, but this is his cut at it. And the question is, what else should he do? What else do we want?
Fine, and I appreciate that people are being given input, but let's deal with reality. Let's state things as they are, not as you think they should be.
Major point.
Okay. Any
Okay,
other questions?
I'm missing the point completely, Charlie.
Excuse me?
Any other
I'm
questions
missing
about
the
the?
point completely. Nobody is characterizing this plan or whatever word it is as anything more than the result of the 4 focus groups telling Kip what they would like on our property.
Actually, you have been, I'm not going to beat it anymore, but you have been positioning as something different.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm not sure what to change, but the way we talked about it, but
Just stop calling it Kip's proposal. It wasn't.
okay.
I mean, Tom, I just look at it like this is the first cut of Kip's interpretation coupled with his knowledge and skill on what he envisioned the golf course would look like based on the input he got. So whether it's a wish list or a proposal or whatever, this is the starting point that we're going to, I don't view it as, if he was designing the golf course based on what the feedback we gave him, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
So, and
Charlie, I'll be happy to use whatever word you like, but it's not going to change what it is. It is what it is. This is the member request.
Then let's call it that.
Okay, anybody else?
I had a question that came from someone that wants to know if they have previously given feedback in some other session, a focus group or a meeting, et cetera. Do they have to re-enter their comments, concerns again in this new survey?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're welcome to, but if they have already shared with us their comments, I think we have a pretty good handle on what we have heard so far. But they're welcome to to go to the survey or the review again.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm that.
Okay.
Betsy, I think you had a question?
Yeah, Tom, you said there are 50 comments that have already come in since this email went out, and I think that's really admirable that so many people have responded so quickly. Do you know if primarily they are on the 5 holes that have the most alterations being done to them?
No, we haven't seen no results yet.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments for Tom? Okay, and any members who have any questions, just you go to the comment box and type in your questions and send them into Ben to sort them out and ask them to us. Gail, I'll turn to you on, yeah.
Larry, I just have a comment, and I just want to say to Tom that I think that the channels that he's using to communicate this plan are excellent. You know, I think that the email that went out asking, you know, to the whole membership asking for comments, and you know, his offer to go out to the golf course, and you know, the focus groups, you know, getting the information from the focus groups. I think all of that has been excellent, and I think that they're doing a great job.
And we should also mention,
Thanks,
Tom,
Gail.
that Katie put side by sides together, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Great job.
Katie putting the side by sides together, as usual.
Yeah, great job. All of it.
Okay, Gail, over to you to talk about the club facilities improvement. Next
Mr.
slide.
Trowell, before we move on, did you want to take the questions regarding the golf improvements from the members? Or do you want to do it
Yeah,
all?
if you
of
have some. Yeah, let's go ahead and do them if you have some.
Okay. So first question is, what is being done about the soil conditions which are currently affecting the golf course? Why redesign holes if we can't get the grass to grow?
Ben, that's the big part of the renovation is providing a better playing surface. When the renovation is done, every fairway will be dug up, turned over, the proper soil will be used, and we expect that that will allow for a much better playing surface than we have in some places right now. Obviously, right now we've got more carts than we've ever had before on a very small 17-acre piece of fairway. So it does get worn down, but we think that by putting in better soil, newer soil, that's a big part of the value of the renovation.
In fact,
Great.
Tom, I think, can you talk a little bit about the, I think you've told me in the past that the renovation of the fairways, the grass and the soil and everything is actually the biggest part of the project. Is that correct?
Yeah, in many ways it is. I mean, certainly all the tees and the greens will be rebuilt, but if there was one common criticism that I hear of the golf course, it is the fairways. And, you know, we have had that for quite some time, and, you know, this is the remedy for that. You can, if you were just going to fix the fairways, you'd have to tear up the fairways, and just as we're going to do during the renovation. So this is, both things are going to happen. We're going to make the playing surface better, and we're going to renovate some issues to make the golf course itself better. So those things are kind of hand in hand.
What are the like more specifics about the fairways that you're here? You said the complaints. What kind of complaints specific?
Charlie, there's some places where we have several kinds of grasses in there.
Yeah.
That they're thin. There are spots that are thin, and that has a lot to do with the soil. It has a lot to do with the cart traffic. You know, at the end of cart paths, it's always, you know, it gets beat up. We've got a lot of golf that happens on a very small property, and I think I think that's probably the biggest criticism I hear of the golf course, Charlie.
Is that going to be like I think it was 2010 when we did the big redo, that we have to kill the whole fairway and reseed it?
That will be done, absolutely.
Okay,
That will be done.
yeah. But it's not every fairway, or is it?
On it, every fairway will
Every-
be fixed, yes.
All right, Ben, do you have any other questions on the golf?
Yeah, I got a couple more questions. Next one, are the golf course hole diagrams and descriptions only based on member input? If so, who? Or do these also incorporate the architect's thoughts on how to put these ideas into reality?
Ben, I'd say primarily it's the result of the focus group, but I think that it's the architect's gathering of that information, saying, okay, this is the best way to implement what the focus groups have told him. I
Right,
guess
yeah,
I'd
makes
say
sense.
focus groups mostly.
You want to talk? Can you talk just for a minute about the focus groups for people who may be not familiar with those?
Sure. In let's see, it was January of 2019. KIP hosted 4 focus groups. There was a group of low handicap women and high handicap women. There was a group of low handicap men and high handicap men. And they went through the golf course hole by hole and gave him input on each hole, each of those 4 groups. He then gathered all those comments verbatim and, took them back to his office and came up with this wish list, Charlie, I think is what we want to call. And that's what you're looking at right here. He took his expertise. I mean, Kip is the top guy in the field of golf course renovations. Tony Maglione and the original committee did a great job finding this guy, getting a relationship with him, and hiring him over that first year. And he is the top guy in the business. And he has taken our input, and this is what he's come back with. And now we're going to try to give him a little more input to give us additional changes.
I recall, and you probably do too, Tom, when I was at one of those focus groups, members kept asking Kip, what do you think we should do? And Kip would not answer that question.
Exactly.
He said, I'm going to hear what you want me to do, what you want your golf course to look like.
He is very good about recognizing that this is our property, it's Stonebridge's property, it's not his, and he wants to make the golf course playable and maintainable for our membership, not based on his picture of what it could or should be. He's trying to be responsive to what we've asked for.
Okay. Ben?
All right, a couple of quick ones here. So it looks like the driving range is larger. Is that correct?
We're going to make the driving range as large as we possibly can. It's going to be sunken a little bit, which will make it a little wider. The putting green will also be sunken and be a little more level. Right now, it's an odd practice setup right now on that putting green where you can only use a part of it. So he's going to make that fully used. But no, as a general answer, we only have what we have, and there's not going to be a lot of expansion.
The conservation area gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think what's a little misleading on that photo is the real photo on the left. You see shadows from those trees, which actually makes it look a little smaller than it is.
Okay. All right, Ben?
Next question is, how long will this renovation of the golf course take?
Now, what Kip has told us is once we get the loan paid off, as Larry referenced, in 2023, he will begin work, actually shoveling the ground in April of 2023. And if things go great, there will be golf being played in December of 2023. Weather plays a big role on that, so he has a little bit of a window, a couple of weeks, but the work on the golf course is basically from April through December.
Correct.
Do you want to, can you mention, Tom, just briefly your experience with Countryside, your discussion with Countryside, who had a similar,
Our committee had a phone call with Countryside, which recently did a renovation at their golf course. Kip was the architect Kip Schultes was the architect for Countryside. They could not have been more complimentary of the number one, the work that he did, the professionalism that he exhibited, and the support that he gave them in every way from beginning to end. They love the end product, which I guess is what this is all about, and were willing to share with us anything that they knew, but they were just very supportive of doing it because they, like us, had a window to work, and their course needed renovation and time, and so they chose Kip, and we're very happy they did.
Okay, Ben.
Okay, this next one seems like more of a comment, but Mr. Gett, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is take from golf course renovation survey email. The architect, Kip Schultes, has provided us a plan to take full advantage of the potential on our property. That plan is a direct result of the feedback which he received in the April 2019 member focus groups representing all levels of golfers. He goes on to say, this states that the architect has provided a plan, not just member input.
I guess that gets to Charlie's point, what we call it, it is not, I guess it's not a proposal, it's a wish list from the members. And now we're going to give them another wish list. And then hopefully that will culminate in a plan or a proposal.
Right.
I think we agree with what that comment said.
And maybe to emphasize that point, Tom, we don't have a contract with Kip to sign. It's not sealed and delivered or anything. We're still in the what do you guys really want phase, and we're reviewing that now.
And we won't have a contract until we have a positive member vote saying that they want to do what we're talking about here.
Right. Absolutely. All right, Ben, anything else?
All right, one more here. It's a follow-up to the soil question. It said, but Schultes said that he could not offer any help in that regard. So who is guiding this soil renovation?
I think what they're probably referring to is selecting the grass that gets planted in the soil. Mr. Schultes is not the guy to guide us there. Mark Metzger, and there will be investigation done as to what the best grass to plant on the surface is. And that is not a Schultes job. That will be up to us and to make those decisions. Like right now, the grass we have on our fairways is called Celebration, and it is used at many, many great places. The grass on the greens is a Tiff Eagle grass, and our greens are just spectacular. So that's a big and an important choice, but that's not part of Mr. Schultes' responsibility in this renovation.
So he'll install the grass, but we tell him which.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else, Ben?
Yeah, we're doing up pretty well here on the golf course renovation questions here, so bear with me. Next question is, how many people in each focus group, and it was a total of 4 groups?
It was a total of 4 groups, and there were probably 25 in each group, I would be my guess.
And then this might be something we get to later, but did we give him a ballpark budget for the renovations?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Right. Okay.
We already addressed how long the course will be under construction. and not available for member play.
Tim, that's a good point. What do we do while the course is closed for member play?
All right, so we'll do what we can to help members play at other courses, just like we've helped other courses while they have their renovations. So we have our regular reciprocal season, which covers most of the period of time. And then even outside of the reciprocal season, we'll work with local clubs to do what we can to get our members out.
Yeah. We've been nice to Vasari for that purpose. Keep them on our side.
And we have, and did Kip provide a ballpark to implement all the changes that he designed in the wish list?
Yes, he did. It's around $5.5 million.
Okay, and then one more follow-up on the soil question. It says, Mark is here now and the grass isn't growing. Should we bring in an expert to help and give recommendations?
Yeah, we generally do a great job with what we have to work with. My opinion would be that when we get the right soil on the ground and that things will be better. And hopefully we get rid of single carts. You know, we've got so many carts on that golf course and we had them all summer long that we beat it up. And that's why we have to fix it every 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Mr. Pinkerton,
Yeah.
Mr. Pinkerton, just to add to that too, we will do, what we're planning to do this summer is a couple of test plots of some of the fairway grasses that are in contention to use on the course in 23. And we'll have to come back to the board on that, you know, as far as funding. But test plots are often done on golf courses so that you can see how that grass wears. And number two is obviously our biggest challenge because of the wear. So what our recommendation will likely be is to do test plots with a couple of different grasses on number two, I'm sorry, so that we can see how it wears with the heavy traffic as well as the shade.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. One more question that just came in on the text line.
Okay.
How much of the $5.5 million is covered by capital reserves?
Dave, you want to talk about that?
Well, we have approximately, and it sort of gets to the last slide in the presentation, but we've got about $2 million that would be available in March of 2023 to apply to total project.
Okay, we're going to talk some about that. The last set of slides is the finance slide, so we'll talk some more about that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything
One
else?
more question here. It's a little more operational in nature, but would the club consider the 90-degree cart rule when you ride the cart path or rough until you reach your ball to avoid so much traffic on the fairways?
I don't know the answer to that. We should be using, if there's a cart path on the hole, we should always be using 90 degrees. If there's not a cart path on the hole, there's nothing to 90 degree from.
Yeah.
Jim, did you have a question? Jim Carroll?
Yeah, just a question. You indicated, you guys indicated that the member input would be done by mid-February of this year. Tom, what will be the next step once you have all those? Will you report to the community what all the input was?
I'm not sure. I don't know. We're going to gather all that information and try to do it hole by hole to see what the design changes have to be. And I would think our next step would be to go with Mr. Schultheis and come up with another version. I guess we could tell everybody what we gathered, but I guess the proof would be in another version like this.
I think that would help to let people know that their input was taken seriously. So I would recommend that you have some sort of report about what was the input, and now we're going to go back to Schultes and react to that.
Yeah. Probably a good idea.
Yeah. We don't have to, I don't think we have to go back question by question or comment by comment, but we can group the comments together and give a general answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, Ben, can we ready to move on to the facilities?
We're ready to move on to facilities.
All right. Gail, over to you.
Thank you. You want to go to the first slide? The team has been busy the last month or so, and I just want to review what the feedback we provided near the end of December, in case anybody didn't see the memo that went out. But in early December, we interviewed architects, and 3 architects, and after deliberation decided to hire David Poorman, and that contract was signed. He joined our subcommittee meeting on the 18th of December and to begin the master planning phase. So the recent member survey, various ideas, constraints were discussed, and he then subsequently left. And we decided that because of the holidays, we wouldn't meet again until the 8th of January to give him some time to come back and think about. He came and did a second walkthrough of the club to think about what he would think with initial concept designs. At the same time, Jim Hole joined our committee in December, and board members are invited now to subcommittee meetings as observers if they want to attend, and we've had some come and attend our meetings. So in January, to start the month off, we participated in a joint committee meeting that Sandy will speak more to in a minute, but it was with the communications team, golf renovation, and club facilities to brainstorm, and there were lots of great ideas that came out of there. The master planning phase communication plan to take us to the member vote. So the entire club facilities team did participate in that. So if you're on the phone, thank you for that, or on the call. And then on the 8th, last Friday, we had our first meeting with David where he presented his initial concept designs for the club facilities. We spent about a little over 2 hours with him that day talking about the design and various questions and ideas that people had. From this discussion, it became clear that in order for us to go further, we really had to answer 3 questions. And really, this is really focusing on the optimal use of the space and the facilities that we already have. So the questions that we are researching and getting answers for right now is that the feasibility of taking, if we build an expanded bistro, can we use the current bistro and turn that into the new kitchen? Because we will, because we want to accommodate more people in the bistro, the current kitchen can't support that. So we need a bigger kitchen. So can we use the current bistro and turn it into the kitchen of an expanded bistro? And then I think we've talked about a long time, but what is the feasibility of adding a second story to the fitness center? And that really needs to be resolved, or the answers need to come from structural engineers, because we've all heard that you can't do it, but we didn't really know whether or not you could. So we want to solve that mystery. And then finally, the determination of the adequate sizing of an updated fitness center. What square footage should we really need in there? So that's, we left that meeting with the task of finding out the answers to that, of which Tim and Jeff, our owners rep, are working on. And David will come back to us once we solve that and bring a new design to us, or an updated design. I guess the next iteration, I expect there's going to be more than 1 or 2 iterations. So then,
It's worth mentioning those aren't detailed designs. They're just boxes and circles.
Well, they really were not any kind of drawings that we have, they were just really placeholders of where you might put different structures. And so they were no sketches of buildings or what the inside might look like, et cetera. So they're very basic. I think they call them bubble drawings of where you might want to put what. So thank you, Larry. Okay, so go on to the next slide, Ben, please. So the next steps are to resolve the questions to support the architect's next iteration of our concept design. Consult the specialists we need to, for example, the structural engineer around the fitness center. Once we get another design, we'll review and provide feedback on it. And when we do have something that's more ready for prime time that we all feel comfortable with members commenting on, that meets from a potential budget perspective and planning or that we like, we'll be seeking feedback from members on that. And the other things are more administrative. We need to update our milestone schedule. We want to make sure we're staying on track with our budget spend in terms of what was supported by the board in terms of commitment for pre-construction planning or pre-member vote up to member vote. We're going to continue to work with the Golf and Communications Committee to build and refine a communications plan tomorrow, because we're not going to have the architect join us. We're going to focus that time really around the communication plan and potential questions and answers that our committee might get and preparing answers. So that's where we're at right now. So open it up to questions.
Any board members have any questions for Gail about the progress, our process that she's going through with her committee?
Yeah, just a quick question about the fitness center. Did they give you a timeline on how long it'll take to figure this out?
I think that, I'm trying to think, it should be resolved. We should know by next week.
Oh, that's fine.
Correct, Sam? I'm pretty sure by next Friday we should know about the kitchen. One of the two is going to be resolved by next Friday. I have to go back, but I think it's structure.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jim?
Yes, Gail, you mentioned the three things, the last two, whether a second story is feasible and how big the fitness center should be. Wouldn't the size of the fitness center be done first to determine whether or not you need a second floor?
Well, we know the current fitness center isn't big enough. If you want to have an adequate workout rooms, the current space is not big enough, and have the equipment in there for stretching and all the appropriate spacing you need. So
Right.
I think that I think a one floor fitness center, unless you made an L shape and expanded it all along the pool on the other side, single story, a single story isn't going to work unless we expanded it out one way or added on some.
So if you could not, using the existing structure, if you could not put a second story on, you'd have to tear it down and do other structural things?
We'd tear it down and build a new structure.
And so you've already decided that you would not get a bigger footprint. You'd always want to go up.
I don't think that's been determined yet, whether we would want to do an L shape or go up. But I think also we need to say if we can build a second story, what's the cost of reinforcing the current structure, and would it be better to start? I mean, if it's a wash, would you want to just start over? So we don't have all the details around that yet. So we need to spend a little more time, and then with the architect thinking about what's the optimal design for that space.
Mm-hmm. One thing's for sure, we got a tight space there.
Very tight.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Assuming nothing's being done on the top floor, we don't know that yet. Will that be open will the dining room and grill room be open during the remodel days?
Tim?
That would be the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the steps in the process with the owner's rep, with Jeff Nunner, is to, as we're getting more and more definitive about how the project's going to be, what the project's going to look like and how it's going to be constructed, one of the steps in his process is to determine how we're going to continue to operate during the construction, and that'll all be part of that process. So we're not just going to tear stuff down and figure out what to do. We'll have a plan for how to conduct regular business as much as we can before we start doing any work. Ben, do you have any questions?
Yeah, we got a few questions on the line here. First question is actually a follow-up to the golf closures. During closure without golf-related expenses and revenue, what is expected impact on overall operating budget?
No income.
Yeah. Tim, that one's for you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would have lost revenue, which when we budget for it, we would try to recoup and save where we can through different line items. But yeah, we would certainly have lost revenue from the golf course. Have to make some adjustments, staffing, payroll. Payroll is our biggest expense.
Right.
Question for me, Ben, would you capture the number of members watching this session? If people start to drop out, at what point in the meeting did that happen? And the answer is yes, I can look at the attendee list and look at when people registered, when they logged in and when they dropped off.
How many are listening?
We have
79.
Good.
I have a question when you get done with the member questions.
Go ahead, Betsy.
I listened in on the meeting that you had with the architect, and he certainly seems like a great guy to be working with, but I didn't hear any parameters for him around any kind of numbers. And at the end of the meeting, when it was determined that certain things were certainly not going to work for us and we were trying to scale it back, I wonder if I did some idea of what we probably can afford, considering we're splitting this financial burden between two major projects. And I don't know, where are you with that?
Gail, this is Jeff. I've spoken to David about a budget and how we did some preliminary pricing at the last meeting, and I'm going to be working with him over the next couple of weeks before he comes back to the committee so that we have a more affordable project to discuss at the next committee meeting. So yes, he is aware that it's not an unlimited budget.
Yeah, that's, by the way, that's Jeff Nunner, our owner's rep. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out the voice.
Jeff,
Okay.
Betsy, when we were interviewing architects, I know we told 2 of the 3 that our target number was 9 million that we were working with, and I can't remember if it was
9 million for both projects.
for 9 million for both. I'm sorry. Thank you. But he knows after our discussion from last week that huge, large, big numbers are not going to work for us.
Okay, so now, I mean, it's nice to have the wish list, as you might want to call it, but it's certainly not going to work in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
The other point that I'd like to make is I never heard any discussion about storage, and it is such a major issue. It was an issue even after our last renovation. That has to be incorporated. Storage for the kitchens, both of them, upstairs, downstairs. There is just nothing adequate right now, and we can't expand that to whole downstairs bistro format without really making plans so that they're not tripping over boxes and creating actually, really, when you get at health inspections, hazards where stuff is that they always have to try to deal with. So that to me is a major concern.
Yeah,
The other thing I'd like to bring up,
piggyback on that, it from the facilities committee standpoint, you know, everybody knows that we have a big section of the dining room that's usually blocked off because we're using it as storage for chairs. They're stacked up behind those wooden partitions. We just don't have, as Betsy said, we just don't have the space, and have just that alone, having those chairs stacked up behind louvered panels is just not desirable. So anything that can be done to alleviate that is really needed.
We
Yeah,
had
this
talked.
is Jeff again.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so Tim, Ben, myself, David, the architect, and some kitchen staff met yesterday, and storage is definitely communicated as a need to David, so that's going to be worked into the plan. Also, an employee break room was discussed, so those two items are definitely
Yeah.
in front of his mind.
This is Kathy, and I had a question that I had mentioned early on in a previous meeting. And you're probably working on this, but I do think that we need an operations management analysis on the impact of the expansion of what we're talking about to the current dining activities and events that we have upstairs. For example, 2 for Tuesdays, the Thursday pasta, and the Saturdays and Sundays, and expanding, you know, the amount of expansion and the seating that we'll have downstairs in the bistro. Will that then also impact, you know, staffing and operating 2 larger kitchens? And so I think that before we present to the membership, we need to have the membership aware of how we will be using the club and the operational cost issues for operating both venues.
And management will address that. You know, we have to first kind of figure out what this look like, and then, you know, we can determine, you know, staffing levels. You know, the good thing is what we're discussing is, you know, a modified bistro, something bigger, a bigger kitchen. But everyone knows that uses the bistro, that is already heavily staffed because of the amount of business that we do. So it's not as if we're adding a whole new venue that's going to be a whole new staffing level. You know, if it's a bigger kitchen, you know, there may be another person in that kitchen, or having a proper expo line, a second expo, and obviously some more wait staff to take care of the service level. And we'll run budget scenarios so that we have that before we go to a member vote. We'll have budgeting estimates of how this will affect an operational budget, not just a capital budget.
Right. What is the current seating for the bistro now, Tim?
It's around 120.
About 120.
120. So we're going from 120 to 200.
Yeah.
That's with indoor too, which we're not using right now, but normally about 120 inside and out.
Right. So we would be adding about 80 more seats. We're going to 200 approximately, we had mentioned.
One of the numbers that we're looking at is 100 seats under air, 100 out, plus the bar. The bar, we don't know what that's going to look like yet, but say that's 20 seats, give or take. So probably about 220. And one of the things that we're really looking at with the architect is to design that kitchen with the horsepower to do that and then some, because it's also going to, depending on how the layout is, it may flow more so to the pool, which could provide a higher level of service over there as well. So we want to have the horsepower in that kitchen to be able to do at least that capacity, if not more.
Okay, so I guess my point is, I agree with, I don't know which comes first, you know, whether we do the plan and then figure out the cost analysis for operating, the upstairs veranda and that kitchen, the grill room and all of that. And then, or to figure out how much more it would cost and how much we can expand. I don't know which comes first, but it seems to me that if we're adding, 220, if we're adding and bringing the downstairs to 220 and we have 200 upstairs, we couldn't operate both of those on a Saturday night together.
No, we definitely could. And the great thing
Okay.
about the upstairs is it's a different venue. And we talked about this before. What's attractive about the bistro is it's almost like a regular restaurant, dare I say, because it's open for lunch and dinner every day. It has a consistent menu. Whereas upstairs in the grill room and dining room, you have events going on, dinner dances. It could be a Saturday night pub night just in the grill room, or it could be, Friday night where the whole room is opened up wall to wall, as it is most nights, just like with the dinner dances and things like that. So what we're looking at is just accentuating on what the members already love about the bistro and giving it the capacity that it could handle, and also the air conditioned capacity, so that it truly could become a 12-month operation, versus, summer months when it's hotter, shutting down the bistro and moving everything upstairs. We would actually be able to keep the bistro going throughout the summer. So for peak season and most of the shoulder months, we would be running both venues for dinner upstairs and downstairs, and just with the ability to do a better job of accommodating the members.
Okay, all right. As long as we have that analysis and we know that going into this, great.
Can I just add to that? Kathy, I really think with the numbers that we have and the demand we have for the bistro, and also the amount of usage that we do have for the upstairs dining room, we're not overbuilding by any means. One of the questions I have back to you in the Ad Hoc Committee, folks, is there was talk about doing something in the grill room, veranda, upstairs, and I want to just caution against expanding that veranda out and making a space bigger than we may need in the future, because the bistro is so popular. And we don't want to, I don't think we want to expand the veranda and put in that extra cost when we're going to have a bistro and a bar down there, which is what people really want, that casual dining. So can you tell me what your thoughts are, where you're going with that? Because I heard it talked about in the last meeting with the architect, and I wasn't sure how that wound up in your discussion towards the end.
I think the veranda is not where we want to focus the majority of our money or energy. I think it's around, can we get more outside it was in the top 7 that was supported by more than 50% of members to make a more expanded indoor-outdoor kind of environment upstairs. So let's pretend we're building the bistro out from the side wall. You have to have a roof. I mean, that can easily expand out to more outdoor seating on the veranda. So I don't think we've made any hard and fast decisions on that yet, but it is under consideration. There was also some talk about turning because the bar is so large and has so much space inside of it, should we turn, and the beautiful views of Stonebridge are not the front of the bar wall, they're really outside. Should we turn that bar around so that people have a view of the environment outside? So I don't think we've made a final decision on that yet, but that's under consideration.
Okay, I know, I understand what the survey said, but also keep in mind when we do expand that bistro bar downstairs, that's only going to make it more popular.
I know, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It's a matter of how much can we afford, and make sure that it does get used to the optimal amount.
Right, and the other thing is we don't want to block off the beautiful view from the veranda as it is with some other addition or anything. So all of that has to come under consideration, but we are thinking about it.
And Gail, we lost our pizza oven because of some code issues. Are you, is the committee considering how to maybe incorporate that into the kitchen downstairs? It was very popular. And,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think you can do a smoker inside. What do I know? But at least the pizza oven.
I think that there is, we've already expressed that we want to have a pizza oven in the bistro, whether it's the current, you know, whether that the one we currently have can be used or it has to be a different pizza oven. We've communicated that we want to have a pizza oven in the.
Okay.
That's part of the analysis that Gail mentioned that we have to do about the bistro, whether
Mhm.
the venting is possible, what the infrastructure for the kitchen, and that it's underneath the upstairs bar, you know, what's that look like? And so that's part of the analysis to see how it would impact the upstairs.
Right.
Because currently the bistro is vented through the back of the bar upstairs. So we have to, that's the mysteries to solve.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, Ben?
Yeah, we have a few more here. There's one saying that if 3 members are leaving the board in 1 month, why not have their input? Or maybe he thinks, why not have input of potential oncoming board members? Not real clear.
Yeah.
I don't understand that question.
Yeah. That's what we're doing here today, among other things.
Yep. Next question is, would the 2-story fitness center have an elevator?
Yes.
Definitely.
Answer is yes.
It's code.
All right, now, given changes in how people work out, is Jeff providing input as to how we might utilize the current space differently based on how people may work out in the future?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Tim and I spent about, I don't know, Tim, what, 1.5 to 2 hours with Jeff talking to him about what he. 3? Okay. What he would. Yeah, he does. And what he would need and want, and that's why we want to also get with a fitness consultant to say, given what Jeff says, how much space do we need, and can we do it? So yeah, we've
Getting
spent a lot of time. Pardon?
Getting a couple of different opinions on what the right sizing would be.
Right.
Right.
Because some of it is, you know, if we had a bigger room, you could train more people in that room at one time. So it's, you know, that's one of the pieces of it. But also the new equipment, some of the new equipment is more streamlined, you know, the treadmills and things like that. So it's how much space do you really need to fit what we can utilize? And the people on our committee can't answer those questions, so we need someone to help us with that.
All right, Ben, anything else?
All right, yeah, next one says the fitness center is only crowded 3 months of the year. How does that warrant such an expansion?
Gail or Tim?
Well, it's
Go ahead, Tim.
certainly is very crowded 3 months of the year. I wouldn't say that it's not crowded 9 months of the year, but we also have to, I mean, this is a saying, you don't build the church for Easter Sunday. But when you talk about 3, I would say 4 months of the year, when we have our peak utilization, that's when everyone is here. So we want to have a facility that everyone can enjoy, right?
And we also have members that go outside to do their fitness because they can't either work out here or they can't get the equipment they want here, et cetera, or you know, everything's too crowded. So I think Tim said shoulder season. I mean, season is turning into 6, you know, a lot of our average, when we did the member survey in 2019, the average tenure time in here per year was in the 6 to 7 month range. So it's more than just 4 months of the year that we're talking about.
You've also got
You could,
fitness, very important for new, younger buyers coming in. And not that that's the total priority, but I think that's important to look at that for the future.
And you could say the same thing about the golf course, but it's accommodating member needs, and most of the members are here during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we ready to move on to Sandy?
I've got a couple more here.
Okay.
Members are limited how much per month they felt was okay for all projects, but no timeline. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I guess they're asking about the financing.
Now let's move that one for Dave's chart.
Put
Dave,
that one to the end, yeah.
Larry, can
Yeah,
I just, when we asked,
we're planning on covering that.
but when we did the Cornerstone survey, the amount that we asked people to indicate was how much they were willing to pay per month for a 10-year loan. That was what was asked. That was the question in the survey. So
okay. Well,
whatever finance we get to, that's asked.
Okay. What else? You have another one, Ben?
I've got another one, an estimate of what the member assessment could be. I might imagine Mr. Harper
That's
will
finance
touch
chart.
on that.
Yep.
Another
All right, well,
one, if you want people to
move on
use the
to
grill
Sandy,
room, then don't.
We'll pick up all the rest of the questions at the end then. All right,
Okay.
Sandy, why don't you go ahead and get started, so we and then we'll pick up any questions. We'll answer them all, but we'll answer them at the end. Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, the communication committee really started to get involved just in this month in January. The two ad hoc committees have been meeting, but we really now are starting to participate. And right now, our goal is to utilize a wide range of communication with all members, including two-way communication through multiple outlets and vehicles to keep everyone informed, answer questions, gather ongoing feedback as we move through this process, and try to be as transparent as possible. So initially, Tom, Gail, and I met December 22nd. And then on the 7th, we had like 25 people on a call, both ad hoc committees and the communications committee. And I got about 50 different items that were priorities for the communication plan. So at this point, what's on your slides here are things that we are already doing or have done. As we're sitting here now, I think this is a great communication vehicle. And within the next 5 days, an email will go out bullet pointing what happened at this meeting, as well as a section of Q&A. We also are hoping possibly doing a Q&A section in the voice too, not only questions that are given by members, but questions that we know people might be thinking. Something like, if you were here 20 years ago, we had Ask Stony in the voice. Katie was wonderful in getting a drone to do the pictures of the 18 holes, so they're working on that. We'll also display large posters, especially of the holes that are having the most change. We also want to do ambassadors from each, from the communities, from golf groups, from book clubs, and employees that can know what's going on. And so when questions are happening, they'll know it. We can also plan to do videos and print articles with pictures in the voice with these ambassadors, just to keep things going.
Next chart, Ben.
Yeah. As in the last remodel, it was pretty successful. We'll have Tim and subcommittee chairs have a designated time where you could come and ask questions. We'll also be able to use the TVs in the locker rooms and in the hallway to put information out. And lastly, at this point, town halls, one or two of them, when we get a little bit further in the process. So we're kind of just beginning to start this process as far as specific communication plan. We've got a lot of input. And we're meeting again in another 10 days, once we get information from this meeting. And I compiled all the information gotten from board members and our communications committee members.
So this communication plan is very much a work in process. And,
Absolutely. We're here to support the two ad hoc committees and make sure that we can get out as much information on a timely basis, but not too much information. Katie's already been numbering the emails that have gone out, kind of like the health updates, so that you can easily look on the website and see, oh, it's the 1, 2, 3, or 4 on X date, so that we can keep track of what's gone out and how it's gone out. Any questions?
the board have any questions for Sandy or any
No.
idea?
Jim?
Sandy, did the conversation at all go around maybe producing a blog?
A blog hasn't, we talked about doing Q&A, I forgot what it's called, but we have a Stonebridge Facebook page as well as an Instagram page, so we could possibly use those more. The problem is not many people from Stonebridge have signed up on those, but that might be a way that's already there to get it, but I will certainly research.
Yeah, Mark has a blog. I'm just don't know how much volume or how many eyes look at it.
I don't know. The challenge with those things is you can't do one memo and then click, 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 then it can be in a lot of different spaces. So that's what we're trying to do is, sometimes less is more, that we don't want to put too much out. I mean, our homeowners are smart people, but we want to make sure that we can give them the most for them to make hopefully a positive decision when the vote comes.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, do we have any member questions on the communication side or suggestions? Okay, well then let's go on. Let's finish up with this last section on the, but it's last, but it's not. It's certainly one of the most important sides of it, which is how we're going to pay for all this. So let's move on to the finance slides, and then we'll come back and answer or pick up any questions that have come up that we haven't already touched on. Dave, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Obviously, numbers is what everybody is really interested in terms of what this is going to cost, but we don't know yet is the answer that I can give you right now. So I'm just going to give you some general assumptions of what we do know and where we're headed in terms of at least financing and funding. So the first general assumption is that the club will not take on any new debt until the existing debt is paid off, as Larry previously said, and that's paid off in February of 2023. The second general assumption is until we have all designs, plans, and project costs with budgets, all we can address now is a target or estimates funding through a combination of two things. Number one, new loan, and number two, existing capital reserves. The new loan we would anticipate starting March of 2023. That would be after the existing loan is paid off. The Finance Committee has done a lot of work in targeting a debt capacity, and that is based upon what the members have said they are willing to pay. And as you've heard before, that number is $110 per member per month. So that was determined from the member survey. The other area of financing or funding is our capital reserves, and we have approximately $2 million identified to be available March of 2023. Now, within those master reserves that we have, we've also set aside, and the board has already approved $125,000 from the capital reserves for 2021. So that gets us to a vote And that would be for costs associated with our owner's rep and our architect and other preliminary planning costs that we need to get again to the vote. We estimate that we need about another 400,000 in 22 and 23. And that would also come out of the capital reserves. And I just put a footnote at the bottom of this to say that all the above will be refined as we receive supportable designs, plans, and cost estimates for the club facilities and the golf course projects. Now, again, I know a lot of questions have come up about how much is available for the golf course. And I would just say, because I've answered this with the ad hoc committee, that first of all, if there was only the golf course that we're talking about, we have 2 million in reserves mid-year to 2023. But this pretends that, in this particular case, pretends that there is competition for the same dollars, but this is a moot point because, in fact, whether it is internal funds or borrowed funds, the total price tag of the renovation projects is going to be determined by the members' willingness to pay for the total cost on the merits of both the golf course and the facilities plans that are presented, whether it falls within the $110 per member per month or becomes a higher number. So, questions from the committee?
Betsy? Yeah, good, Beth.
You're on mute.
On mute.
Per member per month or per household per month?
Per member per month.
Well, which means per household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, a member is defined as a household.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if we were 2 members in one house.
No,
Okay.
you only pay dues from one household.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Got a budget
point.
for it,
Good point. Charlie, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. So if I did my math right, and I'm assuming this is a 10-year loan we would be looking at, is that correct?
Yep.
Well,
So, I'm sorry?
not as we've set it up from the finance committee. The conservative would be to go with an 8-year loan with the possibility of still staying within the $110 per member per month, going with a 10-year loan. So we have a range. So again, you don't start off at the top and you don't empty the piggy bank out and make that your starting point.
So if we did 8 years, that's about a little under 8.5 million total.
I'll do the math for you. It's $7 million and it's 2 million of reserves. That's 9 million.
Okay.
Plus $500,000 that we have in the master reserve set aside for pre-planning costs.
Yeah.
So that would be at an 8-year. We could do an 8-year loan with $9.5 million.
That's all in, including the reserves.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, if we stretched it to a 10-year loan, we're looking at somewhere around $11 million in total.
Yeah.
So you would take the 9.5 and it would become close to 11 million.
Right.
And Dave, what did you assume for an interest rate? Just
4.5%.
right. Okay, any other questions?
We don't know where the interest rates are going to be by the time we're ready to negotiate the contract and the financing, but we can't start negotiating financing now because we have no plans. We are currently paying off a debt that we promised the membership that we weren't going to take on new debt above and beyond that.
Right. Okay, Ben, what were the questions that the members had about finance?
Sure. Well, the one was what would an assessment of the members look like if it was a $9 million project? And I think you just answered that with it would be
$110 per member per month.
Which is, how does that compare to what they're paying now, what members are paying now?
Well, that's a good question. We're paying $73.75 per member per month right now, based upon a loan that was initiated back in 2012. If you time value that coming forward, and again, we were initially using within the Finance Committee a 3% number, bringing it forward, but we've since seen and the 3% was the number that our capital reserve study consultants use, but that's based on primarily equipment, not construction. So I went back and looked at what have construction costs done over the last 8 years, and they've gone up about 4.5%. So under a 3% scenario, we brought it forward and said that number would be $102 per member per month. And if we use a 4.5% construction increase number per, on an average, that would put it at $120 per member per month. So you can see where the $110 falls within that range, depending on what we accept as being a reasonable inflation number relative to construction from our initial debt.
So if you use the 4.5% and you escalate the 2012 number out to 2023, it's actually a bigger number than we're looking at our target, which is 110 per month per member.
That's correct. It comes out to $120 per member per month. But
so we're right in the range.
We're using right now as our constraint $110 because that's what the survey said that people were willing on average to pay. So right now that's our constraint. So not having a design or plans, that's what we're using as a guideline.
Right. There's no reason to nail it down any more definitively because we don't have a plan yet anyway. So
until we have a plan, that's as good as we're going to be able to do.
Yep. Ben, anything else?
Nothing else regarding finance specifically, but I have just a couple of miscellaneous questions to clean up here.
Okay.
One is, what is the average population for the summer months of the community?
So we're about a third year round.
Then another one from Mr. Weiss. This is regarding the status of the fountain out front. I'm assuming it always appears to be struggling. Is that the way it will always look and operate?
It could be the fountain on 18.
Okay.
The fountain on 18, we've had sporadic problems where it's kicking off and back on. We have our pond company taking a look at that. If it's talking about the new fountain on a Mockley Road, that's not struggling. That's how it looks.
But there are still issues there. I was just over there taking pictures today. We've got wires piling out of it, tied to bricks. I don't know what that's all about, but my committee, the Facilities, Grounds, and Security, is going to address that.
No, it's not done with the lighting. The fountain feature itself, the way the fountain bubbles up, that is how it's designed. The lighting is not complete yet. We've been adjusting the lighting to get it where we want. After we have the lighting final, then they'll put that wiring through. That is a temporary setup right now.
Okay. Any other questions, Ben?
And yeah, I've got one more question here. Says I filled out hole by hole comments on the course redesign. However, when I hit submit, I could not tell if it was received. Can someone please verify? You can follow up with
Yeah, we can have Katie can verify that.
Yeah.
So we'll take care of that one. That's it for the questions.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any board members have any other questions? Any actions for the committee? Committee's got lots of things to do, and as it said on the slide, our next special board meeting is Thursday, February 18th. This is the February special board meeting, again, focused as this one was just on the facilities projects. There is a board meeting, a regular board meeting next Friday at 9:30 a.m., the Friday the 22nd, I think it is, at 9 a.m. And we invite you all, of course, the board, we more than invite you to be there, but members invite you to sign in. There'll be a registration going out next week, Ben, or Tim?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yep, so there'll be a communication come out next week to tell you how to log into the regular board meeting on Friday, the 22nd at 9:30. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you, Larry, for organizing this meeting.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.